What's the most insane way you've destroyed someone's life? I ruined my mortal enemy's life. She still has no clue it was me. I was a weird kid growing up, like, really weird. This was mostly due to the fact that I was abused at home and forcibly isolated. My social skills were so underdeveloped that I had difficulty reading human faces aside from my grandmother, grandfather and fathers. Being the weird kid meant I was a juicy target for bullies. It never stopped, but there was one bully that I hated more than any of the others. Her name was Holly. This girl never passed up an opportunity to make my life hell, and since she lived across the street from me, I couldn't avoid her. Holly was the devil's spawn. She put dog crap in our mailbox on a regular basis. She would throw rocks at me, and she even let my dog out of our yard. He was gone for 6 months before we found him. Her bullying went on for years. I hated her with the fiery passion of 100 suns, but I couldn't do anything to her while my grandmother was alive. She was 1,000 times scarier than Holly, and would most certainly beat me if she found out I had done anything. So I devised a plan. I suffered through all the abuse and promised myself that when I was older I would make Holly pay for what she did to me. Thinking of what I was going to do to her when the time was right was sometimes the only thing that kept me going. Eventually, Holly grew up. She left me alone, but at that point it was far too late. I didn't give a damn about her new moral epiphany. I had been nursing my grudge for 2 decades and it was time for a reckoning. I was going to destroy her. I didn't really care for my grandmother, so when she finally died all I thought about was finally exacting my plan. It had taken 20 years. But I wasn't idle while I waited. I'd made it my mission in life to learn as much about Holly as possible, and to do it I became friends with a few people on the outskirts of her social circle. Eventually, I knew more about her and her life than her own mother did. The first step was getting her fired from her job. It took longer than I would have liked, but eventually, I managed it. Holly worked at a doctor's office, and I knew that the doctor she worked for was a die-hard Christian. Very straight edge, upstanding type of guy. He also happened to have a huge influence on the local community. I decided to become a patient at his office, scheduling my visits to be on the days Holly was off work. After a couple of visits I just happened to notice Holly in the staff photo on the waiting room wall. I made a show of looking surprised and then concerned. I got to the exam room, and the doctor came in shortly after. The expression on my face got his attention, and he asked me what was wrong. I told him that even though I didn't want to, as a Christian I couldn't keep my knowledge a secret and still sleep at night because I just couldn't let him endanger his soul and reputation by doing nothing. I had his full attention then and I asked him not to tell anyone where he got the information I was about to give him. After he gave me his word, I told him that Holly was using illegal substances while she wasn't working.